I wanted to support my husband, even if his mom treated me poorly like a servant, and even if he didn't stand up for me. But things changed when his favorite brother got hurt and became half paralyzed. My husband started making fun of him, and even teamed up with his mom to make fun of me. That's when I decided I wouldn't take it anymore. Holding my brother-in-law's hand, I promised to get back at my husband and mother-in-law. My name's Mia, and I live with my husband Kent while we work together. I feel really overwhelmed because I have a ton of work to do at home and with my job, and I never get any time for myself. It's because my in-laws, who live nearby, keep asking for my help. Even though my husband and I both work, he never helps with the housework. My mother-in-law treats me more like a maid than a daughter-in-law. Mia, today you need to take your brother-in-law to the hospital. My mother-in-law calls me early in the morning on my day off. I'm supposed to take care of my brother-in-law's daily needs when I'm not working. Before, I was basically forced to drive him around like a taxi, but now I'm looking after him because he's half paralyzed. I'm always sorry, Mia, my brother-in-law said apologetically, but I shook my head. I'm doing it because I want to, so please don't worry, I replied smiling, but his expression seemed troubled. Before the accident, he was my mother-in-law's favorite. He graduated from a great university, landed a job at a big company, and was kind and gentle to everyone. It seemed like my mother-in-law only had eyes for him, as if he were her only son, leaving my husband, the second son, feeling ignored. Sometimes I got mad at my mother-in-law for treating my husband unfairly. That's why I always wanted to support him. But things changed drastically when my brother-in-law, who used to be so successful, ended up in a wheelchair after the accident. I honestly wish he'd leave already. Being disabled and unable to earn money is bringing shame to the family. My mother-in-law's words were harsh, considering all the help my brother-in-law had given us. She treated him like he didn't belong, which was incredibly cruel. And to make it worse, my husband started joining in, mocking my brother-in-law along with my mother-in-law. So he's paralyzed and can't even move a hand, huh? Doesn't matter if you went to a fancy university, once you can't walk, it's all downhill from there, right? When I thought about my brother-in-law, unable to move his legs because of the accident, I couldn't fathom how they could say such things. Unlike my mother-in-law, my brother-in-law was kind to my husband too. But despite that, my husband's remarks only made things harder for my brother-in-law. After all the hospital visits, I hope he'll move out soon. We can take care of my mom ourselves, and he's just a burden now, a disabled person who can't contribute anything. My husband's words were hurtful, and I found myself arguing with him. I reminded him of all the things my brother-in-law had done for us in the past, and that his injuries were just the result of a terrible accident. We shouldn't speak about him like that, especially since he treated my husband equally. I also opened up about how I'd been treated by my mother-in-law all this time. I endured verbal abuse and was made to run errands on my days off. But I went along with it because I hoped my mother-in-law would change her attitude toward my husband and maybe even acknowledge me a little. But no matter how much I pleaded, my husband didn't seem to understand. Since my brother-in-law's accident, my husband suddenly became the priority for my mother-in-law, who used to dismiss him. It was understandable that he'd feel happy about it, but for me, I just couldn't relate. The sudden and extreme change in her attitude was shocking. My mother-in-law was never easy to deal with, but I never expected my husband to change so drastically. Looking back, my husband often left all the household chores to me, but I believed he was making efforts in his own way. That's why his sudden change in attitude was so shocking and upsetting. One day, while feeling frustrated with my husband and mother-in-law, my husband suggested a family trip. I was thinking we could go to Hawaii for a change of scenery and have some fun, he said. As a working couple, we could afford a trip, but what about my brother-in-law who couldn't join us? Would he be left alone at home? When I voiced my concerns, I learned that a helper would be hired while we were away. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling of guilt for my brother-in-law and started worrying if I could even enjoy the trip. A little something to look forward to wouldn't hurt, my brother-in-law said a few days later, sensing my struggle with my husband's idea. I heard about the trip. Don't worry about me. Go and enjoy yourself. You've always been there for me during the hospital visits and everything else. It's time for you to relax and have some fun. His kindness touched me, and I joked that going on a trip with my husband and mother-in-law might be more exhausting than usual, which made my brother-in-law laugh. Encouraged by his words, I told my husband we should go ahead with the trip, and we began preparing for our Hawaii adventure. I took charge of planning the itinerary and dealing with the travel agency. My mother-in-law kept changing her hotel and activity preferences, making it a bit challenging to finalize the plans. But finally, 2 weeks before our departure, everything for our Hawaii trip was set. As soon as we landed in Hawaii, I made a decision to separate from my husband and mother-in-law. I had already felt used even before the trip, so I had planned for this moment. Plus, I needed some time alone, which I had been longing for since the days leading up to our departure. Most of my effort went into helping my mother-in-law prepare for the trip. I'd rush to buy the things she needed after work, and on my days off, I'd take her to the store so she could pick out what she wanted. These shopping trips with my mother-in-law would easily take up 4 hours each time. The 2 weeks before our departure were packed with this and assisting my brother-in-law with his hospital visits. Then, on the day of the trip, my husband and mother-in-law chuckled and told me, "You stay and take care of your brother." Those words left me speechless and utterly stunned. "Since I usually take care of my son, this time it's your turn. Hiring a helper costs money, but you do it for free," my husband and mother-in-law joked, laughing it off. Their demeanor left me feeling no anger anymore. They left for the airport without me, and I stood frozen in place even after their car vanished from sight. Once back home, I used the spare key to enter my in-laws' house. I found my brother-in-law lying down in the living room and told him about what had just occurred. "I'm sorry for suggesting the trip, but I never imagined it would turn out like this," I told my apologetic brother-in-law, reassuring him that this outcome was probably for the best. I hadn't expected much from my mother-in-law to begin with, but this incident also revealed my husband's true colors. I struggled to put my feelings into words, but at that point, I didn't really care anymore. As I glanced down at my brother-in-law's immobile lower body and left hand, I suddenly saw him rise to his feet. It was shocking because he wasn't supposed to be able to move like that. "What's happening? How are you standing?" I blurted out in surprise. Unable to contain my astonishment, I asked my brother-in-law, who then explained that he wasn't permanently paralyzed. It turns out he had been wanting to put an end to my mother-in-law's excessive interference for a while. He had chosen to stay at the family home because he couldn't afford to live on his own. "I'm barely making ends meet," he explained. When my mother-in-law insisted on him staying, he felt pressured to comply, fearing it might cause trouble for my husband and me. "My mother spends money recklessly. I thought my life would be ruined if things continued like this." I was naive at the time of the accident, he admitted. He had been contemplating how to break free from his mother's hold without causing issues for us. The turning point came when he pretended to be paralyzed and unable to walk. That's when my mother-in-law's attitude towards him changed. And just as he was wondering what to do next, my mother-in-law began favoring my husband. Listening to his story, I couldn't help but feel genuinely sorry for my brother-in-law. "It's really frustrating, isn't it?" I replied with a wry smile, and my brother-in-law returned the smile. "Well, shall we fight back then? What do you think? You can join in, Mia," he suggested. I had no intention of letting things end like this. This whole situation had disgusted me with my husband and mother-in-law. So of course I agreed to my brother-in-law's proposal. 1 week later, my mother-in-law and husband returned from Hawaii. As soon as they arrived home, my husband called me. "Hey, where are my things?" The apartment was empty when I got back. I explained that I had sent his belongings to my in-laws' house. "I made it so you can live with your mother like you've always wanted," I tearfully told him. But instead of understanding, he started complaining about how I moved his stuff without permission. Ignoring his reaction, I told him I want a divorce. "This is too selfish." He was taken aback, demanding to know what had come over me and who was the selfish one. Finally finding my voice, I confronted him about his betrayal of my trust and how much I had endured for him. And during the preparations for the move, even more of his wrongdoing came to light. It turns out he was secretly giving money to my mother-in-law without telling me. Looking back, my mother-in-law's extravagant shopping habits continued even after my brother-in-law quit his job. I had always assumed he was the one funding her spending, but it turns out he had significantly cut back on his expenses after leaving his job. That meant my mother-in-law must have been getting money from someone else, and the only likely candidate was my husband. "You need to repay the money you've been spending without my knowledge," I know $22,000 had gone missing in the past few months, I told him firmly. In response, my husband offered weak excuses, but nothing he said seemed to justify what he had done. Realizing that everything I said was true, he couldn't come up with any valid reasons. I informed him that my brother-in-law had already moved out, and I was living in a new place. I made it clear that neither my brother-in-law nor I wanted anything to do with him or his mother anymore. It's best for you to go live with your parents. Your family seems to only consist of your mother-in-law, right? I said before hanging up, but my husband's angry voice cut through. You're so insolent. I should have divorced you long ago, just like my mother said, he shouted. Even in that moment, he brought up his mother. Though it was my honest feeling, his words felt like a relief. His straightforward declaration of divorce was appreciated. Shortly after, a pre-filled divorce form arrived from my husband's end. I submitted it to the city office and sorted out the financial matters swiftly. Finally, I was free, but this was just the beginning. I submitted the divorce papers. I informed him over the phone. His response was curt. Now that I don't have a nagging wife and a disabled brother around, things will be much better for me. This is the best outcome, huh? He laughed. I laughed too, adding, your brother-in-law has semi-retired and is enjoying life abroad. And did you know he wasn't actually paralyzed? Oh, and your mother-in-law has some debts, so good luck with that. I thought I heard him say, huh. But I hung up, blocked his number, and decided he was just a stranger now, someone I didn't need to care about anymore. A month later, I received a letter from my ex-husband, Kent, sent through a lawyer. The letter was a mix of complaints, apologies, and an unthinkable proposal to remarry me. I'd often wish you were still with me. My salary alone can't support my mother anymore. It's impossible, he lamented in the letter. It was filled with such absurd concerns, and I could almost sense the traces of tears in his words, which made me feel nauseous. I promptly threw the letter away. It appeared that my ex-husband had lost all his assets trying to repay my mother-in-law's debts. Yet it wasn't enough, and they ended up losing the family home. As for my mother-in-law, she was desperately searching for my brother-in-law, who had gone overseas. According to my brother-in-law, she had been reaching out to his acquaintances and former colleagues. Despite her efforts, none of them intended to disclose his whereabouts. And even if she did find out, she wouldn't be able to go there. This situation was putting my second son at risk. I want to see my older son, she reportedly said, but none of my brother-in-law's acquaintances were willing to help her. It seems that life with Kent has been quite challenging for my mother-in-law since the divorce. Meanwhile, I've been enjoying a peaceful life in my new single-person apartment. It's remarkably calm compared to the chaos of before. It's been a year since the divorce, and for the last 6 months, I haven't heard a word from my ex-husband. Then today, I received an email from my brother-in-law abroad after a long silence. The email contained news that my mother-in-law had finally gone bankrupt, her name even listed in the official Gazette. Curious, I did some digging and discovered that Kent and my mother-in-law are now cohabiting in a small one-room apartment. Needless to say, they're not getting along. Kent is struggling to make ends meet and is drowning in debt, all because of my mother-in-law's uncontrollable spending habits. The sight of them disgusts me, but strangely, recalling the past doesn't fill me with anger anymore. It seems the revenge my brother-in-law and I carried out, what we called a counterattack, has had more than enough effect. I'm Melissa, and my husband is Paul. He's a light novel writer and a freelancer who juggles multiple writing projects. I assist him as a secretary at his home office. On a typical day, I was deep into work alongside Paul. As the clock struck 3 p.m., I yearned for a brief break. Yet our tranquility was shattered by the abrupt thud of the front door swinging open. Paul and I exchanged worried glances, bracing ourselves for what was to come. Party time. The living room door swung open with a bang, courtesy of Paul's older sister, Donna. Despite supposedly residing at her parents' house, she made a daily appearance at 3 p.m., indulging in tea and devouring all the snacks we had received as gifts before heading home. Once more, I found myself engrossed in work. Can't you see we're busy? Can't this wait? Don't be such a killjoy. I just want my tea, Donna retorted, unfazed by our irritation. Who do you think you're talking to? Donna flung herself onto the couch, crossing her legs with an air of entitlement. True to form, she raided our snack stash, filling the room with the loud crunching of her indulgence. Listen, it's beyond belief, Donna, I vented, frustration bubbling. She's so presumptuous and arrogant, acting like the world revolves around her. She claims to be a live streamer, but who knows how much she actually earns or anything about her work from home setup. And then she has the nerve to demand tea from me, her sister-in-law, as if I'm her personal servant. And as a result, Donna receives a scolding from my in-laws, though it's merely a temporary halt to her behavior. This demeanor has persisted since I first began dating Paul in high school, so it doesn't faze me much. Handle it yourself, I retorted. Don't you dare sass me, Donna shot back, her words punctuated by the scattering of snacks from her mouth to the floor. You dare talk back to me? You're the newcomer here. You should know your place. As the eldest daughter, I demand respect. If you can't handle it, then maybe you should consider a divorce. I was seething with anger at Donna's remark, but it was Paul who displayed frustration first. That's it. You're being unbearable. Leave. What? Hold on. Hold on. Paul rose from his seat, seized Donna's arm, and escorted her out, her protests echoing through the room. And if you ever use the spare key we misplaced to barge in here again, I won't be so forgiving. I'll be informing Mom and Dad about this. Enough, Donna. Enough fuss, Paul commanded firmly. He reached the front door, where Donna continued her complaints, and secured the chain lock, ensuring she couldn't barge in again. With deliberate clarity, he made sure Donna heard the lock clicking into place. Then Paul swiftly dialed a number on his phone. Dad? Donna's here again. Just a moment, Paul paused to address his father. The persistent knocking on the door echoed throughout the room, but eventually it ceased. It seemed Donna had finally relented and departed. Paul and I breathed a collective sigh of relief. I'm sorry for the trouble. Donna's presence seemed to prompt an apology from me. No need to apologize. Donna's been treating Paul like a servant since she was little. Paul, being gentle and quiet, never pushed back. But ever since we got together and married, he's been learning to stand up for himself, I explained. However, it's been almost 2 years since we married, and her constant visits need addressing. She even showed up uninvited while we had guests recently. Lately, our editor has been dropping by, typically between 3 and 4 p.m. Donna once even tried to flirt with the editor, asking, I'm his sister, what are your hobbies? It was so embarrassing that we've had to arrange for the editor to visit in the mornings instead. Paul prefers to focus on work in the mornings, you see. I heard from your mother-in-law that Donna feels uncomfortable at home. Maybe she's like a hermit there, and her frustration might be directed at us due to her parents nagging. I'm sorry. I should be better at keeping her at a distance. Don't stress about it, I reassured my partner. By the way, don't forget, we're heading to your parents' place to discuss restaurant options for their 60th birthday celebration. We could bring up Donna's situation then, I suggested. Great idea. It's high time we addressed it. I spoke to Dad earlier, and he wasn't aware Donna had taken the spare key. But they do change its hiding spot regularly, don't they? My partner responded. Yeah, Dad recently stashed it in his wallet, which caused a bit of a hiccup, I confirmed. What's the matter? I inquired. It appears that some money went missing along with the key, my partner responded solemnly. What? But she's denying it, so tensions are running high back at home, I expressed concern. I was hesitant to broach the topic given the circumstances, but I truly appreciate my in-laws, who have been kind to me since high school. I'm determined to properly celebrate their 60th birthdays, I affirmed. I want your parents to have a wonderful time. We'll address the issue when the moment is appropriate, I assured my partner. Agreed. Oh, speaking of which, what type of restaurant did you have in mind? I compiled a list of options. Want to review them? My partner suggested. Sure, let's take a look, I replied. I presented Paul with the details of the restaurants I had researched and narrowed down. Seeing how diligently Paul worked, I wanted to offer my support in this regard. For the celebration, I intended to let my in-laws choose from the shortlisted options. A week later, we buzzed the intercom at my in-laws' house, but there was no response. Strange. They should be home, I remarked. Their car's not here. Maybe they're out, Paul suggested. Probably shopping. Getting things ready for our visit, I added optimistically. Well, let's just go in and wait, Paul decided. Using the spare key, Paul unlocked the front door. As we stepped inside, hurried footsteps sounded from the second floor. Descending with a noisy clatter was Donna. Couldn't you have answered the intercom if you knew we were coming? I scolded. I'm busy, Donna snapped back. "Hello, sister-in-law." Donna greeted me curtly, as usual, but her hurried descent hinted at another reason for her sudden appearance. "Did you two prepare for Mom and Dad's 60th birthday celebration?" Donna inquired. "Yes, we did. Why do you ask?" I responded. "Where is it?" "Show me," Donna demanded. "Ha! But you said you were coming, sis," I reminded her. "I changed my mind. Just show it to me," Donna insisted. "Here it is," Paul replied, revealing the setup. Originally, Donna had planned to skip the celebration altogether. "Do we really need to celebrate that?" she had remarked. But the true reason behind her reluctance was something unexpected from a daughter. Yet for some unknown reason, she decided to join. "Oh, look at the esteemed writer, huh? You must be swimming in success. This fancy restaurant you've chosen, quite the high roller move," Donna remarked, eyeing the information she snatched from Paul with a snide chuckle. "Why do you have to say things that irritate me?" Paul snapped back. "Why not? You must be raking it in, right? Though I'm making multiples of that, just so you know," she continued, her words always aimed at belittling Paul. If she truly earned multiples of his income, she'd easily clear 6 figures annually. However, there's no evidence to support this claim. Also, it was Melissa who selected the restaurant. "Okay, can you please stop being so rude?" Donna's intense stare made me uneasy. I instinctively retreated, asking, "What's on your mind?" But Donna proceeded to utter something utterly outrageous. "Ah, there it is, Paul. You're finally witnessing this woman's true nature, aren't you?" "What? Oh, never mind. I'm excited for the celebration. Catch you later." Paul brushed off the comment. Donna then forcefully ushered both of us out the door. Strangely, she held onto the document, continuing her disruptive behavior yet again. "Well, no big deal. We can print out the restaurant details whenever we need to, and then we can show my in-laws the photos to confirm," I reassured Paul. As it happened, our in-laws had completely forgotten about our visit that day and had gone to a Sunday farmers market instead. They apologized to us later for the mix-up. With the venue finalized and the reservation complete, we eagerly awaited the day of the 60th birthday celebration. As we arrived on site, Donna and our parents were already there. Despite our earlier awkward exchange with Donna, we tried to push it aside. However, her smug smile directed at me sparked a sense of unease. Nevertheless, we proceeded into the restaurant. We were led to a private room, exquisitely designed in traditional Japanese style, surpassing the beauty depicted in online photos. Just as my in-laws began to admire the room with smiles on their faces, Donna interjected from behind us, her grin mischievous. "Don't let yourselves be deceived, Mom and Dad," she remarked suddenly. Suddenly, Donna pointed a finger at me and shouted, "You're after our family's wealth, aren't you?" Her accusation startled not only me but also Paul, my father-in-law, and my mother-in-law, leaving us all in blank surprise. "Wealth? What?" I stammered, utterly confused by the sudden accusation. "What nonsense. We're just an ordinary middle-class family," Paul angrily interjected, but Donna's theatrics were far from over. "As the eldest daughter, I'm set to inherit this house. You're planning to target my parents too, aren't you?" "I won't be fooled," Donna continued, her tone accusatory. "I really don't understand what you're talking about. Why would you think I'd do such a thing?" I attempted to reason, but Donna seemed unwilling to engage in dialogue. "I've seen right through you from the start. You're a dangerous woman." Getting close to Paul, "And now this," Donna accused. "That's absurd. Paul and I have been together since high school. If wealth was my goal, I would have chosen differently," I defended, incredulous. Donna merely snickered at Paul's disbelief and continued her tirade. "A woman not after money would have picked a more modest restaurant. But look at this lineup. All expensive places," she boasted. Donna thrust some documents she had taken from Paul a few days ago into our hands. "What's the point?" I asked. "Don't you see? This woman believes she can manipulate your wealth however she pleases." "Simple-minded men," Donna jeered, bursting into laughter, oblivious to our growing realization of the situation's hopelessness. "I won't hand over the family's wealth. Paul, do you see now? This woman's true colors," Donna declared, urging Paul to understand. "Having her as family is a nuisance. You two should divorce. Paul, this is an order from your elder sister for the peace and security of our home. You need to divorce her and leave." "Stay away from my parents," Donna yelled, advancing towards me aggressively. That's when Paul intervened, stepping between Donna and me. What on earth are you saying? Apologize to Melissa right now. Wait a moment, Dad, Paul interjected. What's this about money? Absurd. Melissa has been helping us organize our 60th birthday celebration, and you should be doing the same. Instead, you're creating unnecessary drama, Paul's father interjected. No, Dad, take a look at this, Donna insisted, flustered as she hurriedly handed the documents to her father. My father-in-law perused the documents. If you look closely, you'll understand. She's chosen outrageously expensive venues. She's draining the wealth of a middle-class family like ours, and all the expenses are falling on you and Mom, right? Am I mistaken? He concluded with a heavy sigh. Paul and I, along with my mother-in-law, were left speechless. Oh, what? Paul's confusion was evident. She's claiming we're footing the bill for the 60th birthday celebration, I clarified. Huh? Donna's eyes widened in surprise. Well, it would be rather odd for the honoree to foot the bill, she reasoned. Wait a moment, so you're insinuating Melissa is still spending Paul's money recklessly? See, I knew it all along, Donna accused. What nonsense is this? Melissa works alongside me, and you know my salary supports us both. There's no reason for concern, Paul countered. But, Donna faltered. And what's your take on this, Mom? Donna turned to her mother, hoping for support. My mother-in-law stood there, silently, her head bowed. Exactly, Mom, you understand, right? Donna appealed. Listen, each of these venues holds cherished memories for your father and me, my mother-in-law explained. Donna was stunned. Melissa specifically consulted us about it. She wanted to incorporate our memories into the celebration and choose a menu based on them, my mother-in-law continued. No way, your disrespectful accusations are truly shameful. My mother-in-law's voice quivered with emotion. Tana was finally realizing her misconceptions, but it was too late to amend her errors. A realization that would soon become painfully clear. You've caused enough trouble. You're not welcome here anymore. Go home, Paul's father declared. But Dad, why are you being so harsh? I'm your daughter. You can't just throw me out, Donna protested. But you were planning on not attending in the first place, weren't you? Don't worry about the cancellation fee. I'll cover it, Paul's father replied firmly. Wait, hold on. It seems we've failed in raising you properly. We've indulged you as our daughter, but now we've reached our limit. Leaving is for the best. Don't make decisions without consulting us, Paul's mother added, turning to Donna. I agree. What do you, Paul, and Melissa think? My mother-in-law's smile was unsettling as she spoke cheerfully. Donna looked at us with teary eyes as if pleading for help, but I remembered your sister's advice not to intervene in family matters. No, that was about my parents, I interjected. Ah, I see. Then I'll keep my distance. Please leave, my mother-in-law concluded, her tone final. Sister-in-law, Donna reached out for me, but my father-in-law swiftly intervened, positioning himself between Donna and me. Go home, he commanded, his voice low and stern. Donna glanced at my father-in-law's determined expression, recoiled, and promptly exited the restaurant. Afterward, we celebrated my in-laws' 60th birthdays and savored our meal. Upon returning home, it was apparent that Donna had been sulking. However, my father-in-law reiterated that she should leave. Donna burst into tears and caused a scene, prompting us to contemplate sending her to a rehabilitation facility. I'm not sick, she spat out before disappearing. Rumors circulated that she found a job at a dormitory, but she struggled to maintain it, frequently changing jobs and addresses. Meanwhile, we remained dedicated to our daily grind. Our bond with my in-laws remained strong, and we cherished our time together. While we couldn't help but worry about our sister-in-law's well-being, we had no desire to endure her selfish behavior again. My priority remained supporting my husband so he could devote more energy to his work. Hi, Mom. You were in the hospital for malnutrition. Weren't you eating properly? I've been sending you money. Yeah, thank you for that. But 60 cents. You know the fee costs more than that, so don't worry about it. 60 cents? What do you mean? I'm broke and I've been living a frugal life, cutting down on food and utility expenses. Eventually, I collapsed from malnutrition. My eldest son, Raymond, has been sending me 60 cents every month. I told him it's not the amount but the thought that counts. I thought I'd been sending you 100 a month. Soon, shocking truths were revealed one after another from Raymond. I am caroling. I am turning 80 this year. I lost my husband 5 years ago, and now I live alone in an old apartment. Since getting married, I have been a full-time housewife, relying on my own pension and my husband's survivor's pension as my only income. Life is not easy, and I have been cutting corners day by day. Of course, I save on food expenses as well as utilities and water bills, and I barely get by living in a cheap apartment. Today, it has been lightly snowing since morning, but I don't turn on the heater to save electricity. I wear a down jacket and layer warm pants in the house to stave off the cold. My fingers are chapped and bleeding from doing chores with cold water. I have frostbite on my left hand, which is swollen and red-black as I rub my stiff fingertips while cleaning up after lunch. My daughter-in-law, Samantha, comes to visit. Hello, mother-in-law. I brought this week's medicine. It's the usual $80. Samantha brings me medicine every week. Raymond also cares for me, but he's busy as a pharmacist at a large hospital, so Samantha looks after me. A few years ago, Samantha accompanied me to the hospital for checkups, but recently she only delivers the medicine. It's cheaper this way, she says. Honestly, the medicine is a big expense for me, who is broke. However, I am told that stopping the medication will cause discomfort, so I have it delivered every week. Samantha used to be a pharmacist at a hospital like Raymond. However, she quit her job after getting married and now works part-time at a local drugstore. I'm always grateful for your help, Samantha. By the way, do you know anything about the box of rice crackers I had stored in the drawer? The one with the kids' scribbles on the lid. It's been missing since last week. I point to the dresser in the back. Last week, I had Samantha tidy up around the dresser, but the box has been missing ever since. Inside the box, I kept my hard-earned savings, a box of rice crackers. I don't know anything about that. Maybe you put it somewhere and forgot about it. Can you not blame me? Samantha, perhaps hurt by the suspicion, took the money for the medicine and left with an unpleasant look on her face. I can't argue with that. After putting away the medicine, I grabbed my cane and went toward the post office. Today is the end of the month. Since my husband passed away 5 years ago, I have had no other income than my pension. My son Raymond, concerned for me, has been sending me money every month. My bank book, spit out from the ATM as usual, had deposit 60 cents written on it. The amount sent was so little that the transfer fees seemed to cost more, but it's the thought that counts. Though it doesn't help much with daily life, I am grateful for it. After leaving the post office, I headed to my regular greengrocer. Since I visited every week, I became quite familiar with the energetic owner Dane, who is in his 60s. When I went to the store just before closing, I could get unsold or bruised vegetables at a discount. I always went to the store in the evening, targeting those discounts. Today, I got bruised turnips and radishes and wilting spinach. I thanked Dane and went home to pickle all the turnips and radishes in my homemade brine. The secret brine pickles I've been making for years as a hobby and to save money are excellent in both flavor and texture. I had a simple but delicious dinner of spinach and pickles. Lately, my health has been deteriorating. I feel dizzy when I stand up and I get short of breath just from moving a little. My nails and fingertips are also in bad shape. Perhaps my body is weak because I haven't been eating well due to cutting food expenses. I've had health issues before, but I never paid much attention, thinking it was due to age. But recently, the pain in my body is unbearable, and the dizziness is terrible. I tried calling Samantha to see if she could take me to the hospital. Ah, the hospital, just for dizziness. Well, I'm old, so it might be inevitable. But I'm worried. I haven't been to the hospital in years. Could you take me for once? But I'm busy, I don't have time. Raymond is working non-stop too. I'm sorry, but can we do it another time? It's not that urgent. Samantha refused to accompany me to the hospital. Even the nearest hospital is quite far from my home. Being broke, I can afford not only the medical fees but even the transportation costs. Oh, and please don't contact Raymond. He's in a crucial period at work. If anything happens, please contact me. Samantha emphasized that and then hung up the phone. I sighed and took my medicine with cold water. One day, as I was chatting with Dane at my usual greengrocer, I was hit by another severe bout of dizziness. Unable to support myself with a cane, I squatted down on the spot. Dane rushed over. "Are you okay?" and peered into my face. The dizziness didn't subside even when I sat down. "I'm just feeling a bit dizzy. Nothing is wrong. I'm fine." As I said that, I tried to stand up forcefully. Suddenly, the world spun around and I fainted. When I woke up, I found myself in a hospital bed. Dane was sitting beside me, receiving an IV drip. I heard the story from Dane. Apparently, after I collapsed at the greengrocer's, he called an ambulance for me. I had slept all night since being brought to the hospital, and it was already bright outside. The doctor explained that I had anemia due to severe malnutrition. Unbeknownst to me, my bones had become hollow, and my body was in a more serious condition than I thought. I was worried about the treatment costs and wanted to leave early, but the doctor told me I had to be hospitalized for a week. Caroline, I always tell you to eat properly. I was shocked when you suddenly collapsed. Dane had always been concerned about my health. Sorry for making you worry, but I don't have any money. Didn't you have an eldest son? He's a doctor or something, right? He must be earning a good salary working at a hospital, so he could at least send you some money. He's a pharmacist. I've been receiving support from him. I smile awkwardly and close my mouth. I receive a monthly allowance from Raymond, but it's too small to help with my living expenses. With the weekly medicine fee I pay to Samantha, even my pension has been significantly reduced. Dane says I should get more money, but I'm hesitant to accept money earned by others, even if they're family. However, what worries me now is the hospitalization cost. With my barely getting by lifestyle, I can't imagine affording such high medical bills. Also, I'm concerned about my precious rice brine pickles. If I don't stir them every 3 days, they'll go bad. After thanking Dane for returning to the store, I searched for my cell phone to contact Samantha. Looking at the screen, I saw that the battery had died. I don't remember Samantha's number, but I memorized Raymond's because it's similar to my home number. Samantha told me not to contact Raymond, but with things like this, I can't avoid it. I borrowed the hospital phone to call Raymond. Hello? Oh, thank goodness. It's been a while since we connected, Raymond. It's your mother, sorry to call you during work. Samantha had forbidden it, but I called Raymond from time to time. I just wanted to hear his cheerful voice, but for some reason, he never answered my calls. Was he too busy with work to answer the phone? Anyway, I was relieved that the phone connected during this crucial time. I thought, who could this be? It's been a while since you called, Mom. Where are you calling from? I was reluctant to worry my eldest son, but I admitted I was in the hospital. I briefly explained to the surprised Raymond how I had collapsed and been hospitalized. What? Malnutrition, Mom? Haven't you been eating properly? I've been sending you money for that reason. Yes, I'm really grateful for that. Your support means a lot to me, but 60 cents might cost more in fees, so don't worry too much. 60 cents fees? What do you mean? With a puzzled tone, I told Raymond how I received 60 cents from him every month and that I appreciated the gesture more than the amount. I thought I was sending more money to Mom. Raymond finally speaks, as if squeezing out the words. Wait, I'm curious about that too. But you mentioned malnutrition, right? Mom should have been going to the hospital every month, and she should be getting her medicine. Hasn't the doctor said anything until now? Yeah, I'm getting the medicine. Samantha delivers it to the house every week. I haven't been to the hospital in years. Lately, I've been having bad dizziness and palpitations, and I wanted to go to the hospital if possible. But Samantha said I'm busy, so maybe next time. Just the medicine every week. Raymond seems to be worried about something as he mumbles on the phone. Anyway, I know you're busy, but could you please bring me some clothes and the insurance card on your next day off? And I'd like you to mix the rice brine pickles every 3 days, all right? I have the keys to our parents' house, so I'll leave work early today and go there. Don't worry about the hospital bills. I'll be there by evening. Raymond seems strangely preoccupied, but I'm grateful he can come right away. Thanks. Be sure to wash your hands well and mix the pickles with your bare hands, Mom. I'm here. How are you feeling? Are you okay? After the call, Raymond shows up in the afternoon. It seemed he left work early. As he organizes the clothes and personal belongings he brought from the house, he asks me in detail about recent events, about the house, my health, the medicine, Samantha. It's like a continuation of this morning's phone call. He also brought my bank book from home, and we opened it to check the contents together. From the date 5 years ago, there's a series of deposit 60 cents entries. Raymond glares at them with a fierce expression. Since this morning's call, Raymond's behavior has been strange. Did something happen at work? I thought he must have been very busy, as I had tried calling him 2 or 3 times a month, but never got through, and he never returned my calls. I feel bad for making him leave work early today. I casually apologize for it, and Raymond is taken aback and asks rapid-fire questions. He quickly takes out his smartphone and starts operating it intently as soon as he hears my story. What's been going on with him? Raymond gazes at the screen for a while, then operates his smartphone again to send a message to Samantha. He then grabs his backpack and says, "I'll be back shortly." He leaves the room, leaving behind a strange sense of unease, but I lie down in bed anyway. That evening, Raymond returns to the room. He puts down his backpack and asks how I'm feeling. After receiving an IV and sleeping in a warm bed for the first time in a while, I feel much better. While snacking on fruit and chatting, Samantha comes into the room. "Oh, mother-in-law, how are you feeling?" "Raymond, you took time off work, huh?" She approaches us with a forced smile and sits in the chair next to Raymond. Raymond didn't reply, looking down and gripping my bank book into his hand. Before I could say anything, Raymond spoke up with a voice lower than usual. "Samantha, Mom's malnourished. Do you know why?" Samantha stayed silent. There was a tense atmosphere. Raymond turned to face Samantha, glaring at her head-on. "Mom's been broke for so long, barely able to buy food. It's not just food, she's been cutting back on electricity and gas, living on the edge for years. When I went to her place today, there wasn't even a heater in the dead of winter." "Well, wait, Raymond, we're in a hospital. What happened? It's not Samantha's fault. There's no money." I tried to calm down the yelling eldest son while hiding my frostbitten, swollen, red-black hand. Ignoring me, Raymond continued with an angry tone. "I asked you to send $1,100 to Mom every month, right? But she's only received 60 cents for the last 5 years, Samantha. What's going on?" Saying that, Raymond thrust my bank book at Samantha. On every page, there was the number 60 cents. I couldn't believe my ears. I don't remember ever receiving $1,100. The money from Raymond was always 60 cents. Samantha, cornered by the furious Raymond, looked away from the bank book and fell silent. "That's not all. I give you $150 every week for Mom's medical expenses and medication, right? You said you were using the leftover money to buy her necessities and groceries, but they were only withered vegetables in her room. The fridge was empty." "Be quiet. I gave her the medicine." "What kind of medicine? Without a doctor's prescription, you decided to prescribe it yourself." "All that was in Mom's house were basic vitamins. You bought some random vitamins at the drugstore where you work, put them in a medicine-like bag, and handed them over, didn't you? What were you thinking?" Raymond's tone was stern. "I had no choice. I needed the money," Samantha yelled back to the furious Raymond. Even though this was a private room, we were still in a hospital. As I was shocked by the contents of the eldest son and his wife's conversation, I felt anxious. "You needed money, so you stole Mom's precious savings from her dresser too." With that, Raymond pulled a crushed box out of his backpack. On the lid was a drawing of my husband and me, drawn by Raymond when he was a child. It was the box of rice crackers I had been searching for the last week. I, too, was so shocked that I gasped. "What? No way." I didn't want to believe it either, but I found it while searching through our trash after you said it disappeared a week ago. "He really did it, didn't you?" Faced with undeniable proof, Samantha turned pale and lost her words. "So what did you do with the $250,000 that was in this box, huh? And the $1,100 you were supposed to send to Mom every month? The hospital fees and the medicine fees, where did it all go?" Raymond demanded. "Stop nagging, there's no money left." Samantha, who had been trembling as she stared at the box, eventually stood up, knocking over her chair, and yelled back defiantly, "It's all your fault anyway. You always ignored me and focused on your mother. Ben is way better than your husband." "Huh. Ben? He's the coolest host at the club around here. I've been supporting him, and soon he'll be #1. He said he's saving all the money I've given him for our life together." Samantha excitedly continued talking. Both Raymond and I stared at her blankly. I didn't quite understand, but it seemed she had fallen for a man and was providing him with money. Apparently, she needed a lot of money for that. "All right, Samantha, I get it. Let's get a divorce right here for the sake of your life with this bang guy." Raymond quietly said this and took out the divorce papers and his seal from his backpack, placing them on the side table. "I never want to see your face again. Sign the divorce papers here, pack your things tonight, and leave the house. I'll stay at the hospital tonight." Raymond's voice was firm, leaving no room for negotiation. "What? Don't be so selfish. You can't just suddenly." "Samantha, do you even realize what you've done? Faking medicine, stealing money. If you don't want a divorce, we can go straight to the police instead." Samantha, who had been so confident, flinched under Raymond's intimidating gaze and eventually started making tearful excuses. I had no choice. My part-time job wasn't enough. I took a little from the money you sent and the medicine fees, but I know it was wrong. Besides, neither you nor your mother noticed for years, right? You both share some responsibility. Enough. I don't know when you did it, but you went through my phone and blocked Mom's number. You even told her not to contact me, didn't you? You deliberately kept us apart and exploited her without getting caught. Raymond's anger was palpable as he slammed the divorce papers on a table with his fist. Samantha flinched. Anyway, Samantha, this is goodbye. I'll make sure you pay back every penny you've taken from us. Remember that. If you don't, we're going to the police. Raymond's voice was resolute. Finally realizing the gravity of her actions, Samantha couldn't say anything and signed the divorce papers with tears in her eyes. Samantha left the house that night, as Raymond had told her to, almost like she was running away. In exchange for not reporting her to the police, Raymond made sure to demand repayment of the money she'd taken, the amount she'd taken for the last 5 years since my husband's death, including the money for living expenses and medicine. In total, it amounted to over $900,000. I was shocked. Samantha later lost contact with the host she had given so much money to and went berserk in the club, getting herself banned. Bad rumors seemed to spread from nowhere, and before she knew it, they reached her part-time job, resulting in her being fired. With her income gone and not a penny to her name, Samantha couldn't rent an apartment and had to spend some time sleeping in internet cafes. But what happened to her after that is unknown. I had almost given up on getting back the money Samantha had taken. She had disappeared. But her family, who learned of the situation, decided to repay the debt in small amounts on her behalf. It might be difficult to recover the full amount of stolen money, but I was happy with their gesture. After being discharged from the hospital, I decided to leave with Raymond. We're living peacefully together in the house Samantha left, just the two of us. I had been forced to live a difficult life, being exploited by Samantha, but now, in our warm, comfortable home, I'm eating well, and my health has improved. Dane, the greengrocer who has always been worried about me, finally felt relieved. I still continue to make my specialty pickles. I used to do it just as a hobby and for saving money, but now, with Raymond's help, we're sharing information on how to make good pickles and delicious pickle recipes. In a few years, my pickle channel became hugely popular, possibly because an 80-year-old content creator was a novelty. And now, it brings in an amazing income. I had always thought that making money was impossible for me as I had never worked as a full-time employee. But even I can be useful to others. More than earning money, I've come to know the happiness of bringing joy to others and now live a fulfilling life every day.